All right, we are now recording. We're going to listen to Rachel. Here we go.
All right, so I had motivating your downline, how to motivate your downline, and that's something that I've really struggled with because my downline is just not the most motivated. So I did a bunch of boot camps and went through and read a bunch of business classes and all these different things, and they all say almost the same thing. So no matter where you go looking, you'll probably find all of this and throughout the different posts that you can find. So they all have like 5 to 10 steps for how to motivate your downline and things to keep in mind. And one of the main things that they always talk about is being enthusiastic as you do so, because enthusiasm is contagious. So the more positive and enthusiastic you are, the more it's going to trickle to your downline. So that is just something to keep in mind as you go through and you do some of these things. Number one that I have on my list is be a real example of what you want them to do. Don't say, hey, you need to be doing this if you're not doing it. You have to lead by example. They can easily see what you aren't doing, even though you're telling them what to do. And if you're not willing to do it, then why would they be willing to do it? So you need to show them by doing the things that you think can help them, by doing them yourself. You need to set the pace when you do that. You know, different things like that would include how many classes are you willing to teach a month? And what would you expect them to teach a month, and kind of help them get that started. But you really need to get into the trenches with them and stay down there as you're trying to motivate them and encourage them. One of the other things before I go any further is everybody talked about motivation not being the word you want. Everybody talked about commitment being the word that you want, because motivation is something that you have in the beginning, and it's something that everybody is really excited and they're really gung-ho, but that lasts a few hours, a few days, weeks, months, and then it's gone. And it's hard to rebuild that motivation. What you need to do is help them with their commitment. And you need to find the things that help to drive that commitment and build them up so that they are really committed to working the business. And some of those things are finding their why and about reevaluating it often with them, which is something that we're going to talk about more. But motivation is awesome, but it's not long lasting. So that's something to keep in mind with your downline. Everybody says to think of yourself as their coach and not their boss. You want to be with them, doing this with them, and leading them by being encouraging and inspiring, but not telling them what they need to do and how they need to do it, because that's the first way to shut everybody off, is by telling them what they need to do and how they need to fix it. Whereas if you come at it as a team and we're going to do this and we're going to try this, it actually opens the door for them more and has a different aspect on the way their brain receives the information and how they perceive what you're saying. So that's something else to keep in mind, is how you word things with them. Number 2 is weekly calls, whether it be Zoom, video calls, Marco Polo, whatever you are going to do. It's good to have weekly calls within your team and within individuals so that you can see where everybody is, but you really want to foster a team environment. So by gathering people together, either on Zoom or in person, and getting them together, which isn't always easy if your team is scattered about. So, because I have none of my team here. So for me, I have to do Zoom calls or Marco Polos, which I find to be super helpful because everybody can kind of hop on when they can. And we all chip in, but you want to encourage questioning and creating a community within them when you do your weekly calls. Another thing about weekly calls is allowing a guest speaker to come. You know, we are always the ones talking with our team, but when you have somebody else who is cross-line or even further up in your upline who can come and speak, they can bring something different to the environment, which kind of gives them a fresh perspective, something that works for them. And it's amazing what sometimes having somebody else say, even if it's the same thing you've said 20 times, it just can hit that one person just the right way and drive them and give them that motivation or that drive that they need, like to try something new. So guest speakers are highly encouraged. Different events is another one, whether it be biz classes or home classes. If you're in the area to gather together and be with them, then do it. If you're willing to go to their house and host classes, like teach the classes for them in the beginning, just so they can see it's really not that scary. Is because for me, it was very scary in the beginning. It was like, I have to teach a class. What are people going to think? And if you are willing and you're close enough to be able to do that, where you're able to go and teach the class and show them this is what you need. It doesn't require all these steps, even if it's, hey, have these note cards on hand, and it's okay to have note cards on hand while you teach a class, kind of a thing, because you're giving them different ways and showing them actually how to do it. One of the things that they really drive home is kind of what Alyssa was saying last week: get people to events. You want to get your husband to an event. You want to get your people to events, whether it's convention or trainings. The more you get them to an event, the more drive they have, because people want to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves. And when they feel like they're a part of that community, they have more of a drive to work harder to stay in the community and to work together to serve the community. So it's not just building their own business. There's something about the community that actually helps with the drive for others. It also, doing team events also creates, getting your team to events creates more of a team culture, which is what you want. Let's see. Reading with your downline. So whether you get them in cultural, professional development books, that would be a great way, or getting them to listen to them, because not everybody has time to sit and read a book, but maybe they can listen to them while they're driving in the car or working in their kitchen. But one of the things that everybody talked about when it comes to reading and doing professional development is actually connecting with your downline one-on-one instead of doing it as a team, because everybody has different needs and they have to focus on different things. We all just, my group, my upline, we read Finish not too long ago as a group, and it was great, but it wasn't where everybody was at. So there were people who were kind of left out. So some of the people that I've listened to, they said, if you can work with everybody one-on-one with their professional development, and then you actually create a professional development plan. Okay, let's focus on, let's get through this book, and let's look at these things, these are some tasks that you're going to focus on, and I'm going to, will help, and I'll be your accountability partner. But you create this plan with each individual, because it actually also is another thing that gives them more of a drive, because they have something to work on and work towards, as opposed to doing it with a big group where you can kind of get lost and people don't always notice when you're not doing it. Time together is huge. And this means time together, not isolated. Time together, focusing on them as an individual. You always focus on your business together and doing things as a business. We tend to easily forget, like, oh, your kid was sick last week. How are you surviving? And it seems like silly that you have to say focus on time together, but go and get coffee and don't always talk about the business. Talk about your kids, your family, what you're doing, anything like that. I mean, you can still talk business, but they really push personally connecting with them so that you can truly learn what makes them tick, because they can tell you what makes them tick, but you can see it by interacting with them more and learn what gives them their drive and their passion and their motivation. Pep talks, including just everybody gets down. So giving them a little pep talk here or there, but giving them recognition in different things, whether it's something huge or something teeny tiny, is really big. A card in the mail, something posted on their wall, something posted in your team page, but something about that person just to give them a boost. I did this the other day with a friend who she's been really quiet in her biz, and she posted something, and it was, one of my girls, she unboxed her ER. Not really doing the business right now. She's one of further down in my downline, and it was amazing. Her video was amazing, unboxing her ER. And as she's talking, she's sharing the benefits of ER, and I shared about it and I gave her praise in the group, and she was like, that made me feel so good. I was like, but you have no idea. Like, I would have signed up for ER if I wasn't an oiler. Your video was awesome. Like, because she was just being genuine, and, they talk about praising them just for being real and something small about themselves. So the next thing that I want to share is helping them earn money. So there are 2 ways that you can help them earn money. That is by teaching classes with them and helping helping them to build their own business. And then the other is by helping build their business underneath them. And that's what they call downward upward motivation. It's kind of a weird phrase. I'm not frozen. So downward upward motivation means that you're building within the depth of their legs. So you actually will find a business builder under them, and you will help work with that person, and you're going to build that person. And once the person, so here's your person, here's the person under them. You're going to build this person up down here. And as you build them, it's going to help their paycheck grow, which is going to help increase their motivation and boost them and give them that push that they need to drive them further, to want to work harder. And it's like, holy cow, because you've built underneath. So they, one, see that you're still supporting them, but you're supporting them in a way that actually really boosts their business, as opposed to just stacking unilaterally. You're really helping to support their business. And that's what is called downward upward motivation. And studies show that doing stuff like that with your downline is actually huge. It is more beneficial and more successful than just putting a stack here, under this leg here, and under this leg here. You really start to build one leg with them and like underneath their leg. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm confusing myself talking, sorry. So that was really big. A lot of different videos that I listened to and boot camps that I attended really focus on helping to build motivation that way when it comes to giving them a little bit of money. Because once they start to get that money, they get that taste, and it's like, okay, now I really want this. Oh, it's not just paying for my oils anymore. Wait a second. I'm actually making money on top of paying for my oils every month. The next thing I already mentioned was reevaluating their why with them, but you can do that on your one-on-one calls when you do their professional development plans, because our whys change. And we learn that in Grow with Jill, like everything changes. As you change, your why is going to change. So it's really important to keep reevaluating it. And then encouraging them to try new products, whereas you treat them kind of like they're your downline member, like you're personally enrolled, not your business person, where you try to connect with them and say, have you tried this? Send them samples to try something that they haven't tried and see how they like it, because you're getting more products in their hands to get them to try more. And once they do that, they'll be like, oh, I did that with the Genesis hand lotion with a bunch of my people. I sent them just the little squeezy packets that you see, all the hot packets. And a bunch of my girls who do the business have never tried it. And now like 6 or 7 of them get it on a monthly basis because their family loves it. So, and I just did that by sending my business people samples to try. And that's another way to get more products in their hands and get them to try new things, because we all get stuck in our comfort zone where we just don't get out of the rut of getting the same thing every month. And when we try new things, we're willing to share more. So a couple things outside of all of this is, as we said, as a coach, you are going to work hard to be positive, inspire, encourage, and connect with them. But you want to do it enthusiastically. But you also need to be willing to step back from those who are not going to try it all right now. Not everybody's going to be in that phase. You can work with them and we can try these steps with them, and you need to try these steps with them. But if you see that these steps are not getting anywhere, still love on them, still give them what they need as a friend and personally, but take a step back and focus on those others in your biz who can really grow and blossom with you giving them more of your time and energy. Because you can very easily take on the weight by trying to motivate everybody. You can take on the weight of their negativity, and it can become backbreaking for you. And you can get to the point where you are no longer motivated because you're feeling nothing but the negativity, and you're forgetting the positive movement that's on the other side. So that's kind of what I have for you guys. I feel like I probably talked way too fast. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Nope, you're good. I just want to touch on really quick, because that was absolutely right. It was perfect. It's absolutely what we needed to hear today. And one of the things I want to talk about is that upward, downward motivation. That's huge. It's really, really big. I have leaders that I'm still trying to teach this to, of quit worrying about your front line and get underneath them. So it's once you have somebody that's willing to build the business, your job now is not to necessarily work for them or help them teach a class or anything else. It's to get underneath them and find a builder underneath them. Your job is no longer to build them, it's to build somebody underneath them. And so what I always look for, and I've done this a couple times, and I've got a silver, cross my fingers, she's ready to go silver this month. She just has to get all her, it's that first month of silver, right? You guys all kind of know this. So I'm working with her hard to quit focusing on your front line and focus on the people underneath them and get them to senior star. It's not about the people in your front line. You need to get them to 4,000, but the only way you're going to get them to 4,000 is to build 2 people underneath each of them to senior stars 2,000. So what is it going to take to identify 2 people that are willing to share the oils, bring people to your class, introduce them to you, and identify 2 people underneath them and work with them this month? It's not about the people in your front line anymore. It's underneath businesses. And it may be 2-3 people deep. It may not be their front line. And so but I've done that. My first silver, that's what I've done with. She was so mad at me. She was so mad at me. She's like, why aren't you working with me anymore? Why aren't you doing anything in my business? And I'm like, I am. I'm finding builders underneath you, and I'm working with them. I'm talking to them every single day. And sure enough, a month later, she went silver, and she's like, oh. And I'm like, I am. I'm not placing people underneath you anymore, but I'm finding those business builders underneath you to push you up, to get you excited. Well, as soon as as soon as she went silver, she's like, oh. I was like, now your job is to find leaders, underneath the leaders that you already have in your other lines. So you've got to get yourself to gold now. I'll support you, and if a leader pops up, they have questions, bring them to me. I'll be happy to answer any questions they have. But your job is to identify leaders underneath the legs that you already have going, looking maybe 2-3 levels deep. It's a matter of, like you just said too, it's don't get stuck on the ones who just aren't growing. Right. If they're not a moving car, if they're not asking questions, if they're not bringing people to classes, if they're not, love on them, they're just not the spot yet to do it, or they have too many limiting beliefs that maybe you need to help them get over to get moving. And so it's just a love on phase. Instead of looking for someone who is asking a lot of questions, whether it's product or business, if they're looking for people who are, posting in your groups or in their own pages, oh my gosh, this stuff is amazing. Anything they're posting, that is a potential business builder because they're excited about the products. And you want to help them as much as you can. Answer any questions. Keep saying, hey, everything that you're doing and you're loving on your oils, keep doing that, because you're going to have people come to you and asking you questions, and I'll be more than happy to help you answer those questions. And then let's do some classes for them. Let's educate them too, to be able to help them grow. And guess what happens? You get a new business builder out of it because they sponsor somebody, get $50. You're like, ooh, what just happened? So anybody that asks any type of questions, I latch onto them and I build them up and I praise them and I really kind of get in there. And again, lifting up beneath your leaders. So you have business builders you're doing classes for. Stop necessarily doing classes for them and find somebody underneath them that you can build up and have that upward movement. I've seen it happen more than once. It motivates someone like myself or other people. I mean, it just depends on personality, how it motivates them. But if nothing else, a yellow, it would motivate them because now they have somebody to be in community with, right? A green, you just motivated them financially because they can see that financial piece of it, right? A red, oh my gosh, you gave me a challenge. I've got to keep after it so that they don't pass me up, right? You gave me a challenge. And so in a blue, that's just got to be fun, right? That's just total fun because now I have something to work with and this is fun. We can do a party together and you have motivation there. So anytime you find somebody in depth that you can work with, go for it. I mean, you got to start looking for those. You got to start identifying those. Start making the relationships down deep too. I think that's one of the things that's the hardest for me living so far away from my group is that relationship part of it. but that's where, you know, Marco Polo comes in, and that's where, you know, your team groups come in. If I see somebody that's downline from somebody else and they're posting, I'm like, can you friend me? I want to be able to talk to you. You can answer me, ask me any questions. You know, I start that conversation. And I'm really intentional about it. So just wanted to kind of point out that piece of it. It's huge. It's a really, really big motivating piece. So I'm glad you touched on it. I like how somebody put a name to that. So
yeah, I thought it was very awesome. And so many people were talking about it, which was what was like, wow, how have I been? I mean, and I know that you and I have talked about this a little bit, but it's like, oh, so this was good for me because I carry the weight of my unmotivated people because I feel like it's as a yellow for me. I know it's because I feel like, oh, what have I not done right to support them that has possibly encouraged them to be discouraged or not motivated. And it's just not where it is. Like,
I think that's every color.
Yeah, you know, and you're right, but it's not where it is, right? You can still love on them, but not be stuck in the wallow with them. You can be out of the mud with them. Like, you can just say, you know what, enjoy your nice mud bath. I'm gonna love on you. I'll bring you presents. I'll send you gifts. I'll love on you. But I'm gonna go over here with the people that are asking me questions, you know, and you can always ask me questions. And if you do, man, I'm right back over there with you. But I'm not gonna sit over there and just kind of wait for you. Yeah. Yeah. There's a difference between working with somebody and standing still trying to, because if you're you're in the mud with them and just kind of keep pulling them out, all you're doing is irritating them. You know. But loving on them, you can bring them gifts, you can send them samples, you can, you know, tell them that you appreciate them, that they're ordering, you know, that kind of stuff, and that's just loving on them. So
yes, I actually had something written in tiny letters that I realized that because I filled up 2 pages doing all this. The last thing that you said was to leave them in the dust. Like,
what was that?
Leave them in the dust. That was one of the last things that a few people said. They were like, you help them, but then you let yourself take off.
Yeah.
Because that will also help them grow to see like you like fly off, like take off and like soar with this business and do amazing. That in itself is encouraging. So
yeah. So one of the things, and it's very similar to what I was talking about today in Grow, is if you are enrolling people, you don't need everybody else that's already in your group, right? You're enrolling people and you're moving and you're shaking and you're putting people underneath people and you're building up those leaders and stuff like that. They're going to be like, what is she doing? What just happened? You know, so it's one of those that people who are constantly enrolling people that are moving and shaking rather than, hey guys, you know, you need to get your ERs up and you need to work on this and you work on that, but you're not doing it. It's just an attitude difference, right? There's an attitude in that of making that happen for yourself. And so, you know, it's one of those things that like probably the last 2 weeks, I've been really going, okay, I need to do this, but I literally, in the group, in the area that I live in, I don't have any places that, I mean, the soccer team that I was, you know, getting names from and stuff like that is tapped. I mean, but I don't have anything else. So I'm like, okay, I need to involve myself, even though I don't really have the time to do it. I need to involve myself in groups. I need to go attach myself to and go to the gym on peak hours rather than at 5 o'clock in the morning. I just called them today and I said, you know what? I want to do wellness classes. I know that enough people in this community do not understand essential oils. And so I would just like to do a wellness class. Just general information about essential oils. I just need it to be able to I want to meet people. I'm new to the area, you know, and I know that enough doctors around here don't understand essential oils, and honestly, buying essential oils from the grocery store is dangerous. So I've done it for 8 years. I love doing it. Can I just teach some classes? She's like, oh, I would absolutely love this to happen. Let me put you in contact with the right person. And so I'm starting out there. I'm going to make those things happen, you know, and I'm going to keep talking to the right person until it does. But it's a matter of, you have to be continually putting new people on your name list, unless you have 20,000 people that you know, like you were doing events before, Rachel, and you were out there every week and you're making names and contacts and stuff like that. And so it's just a matter of getting those contacts and making it personal contacts. And then other people see you doing that because you're talking about it too. If you're doing it, you're talking about it. So it helps other people to start thinking about, who can I put on my name list? Who can I enroll? Who can I, you know what I mean? So it just helps the momentum every way around it. So yeah. The more we do, if we're doing 1,000 times and our group's only going to do 30% of what we do, it's a lot more than what we're doing is nothing, right? So yeah, it's hard. It's hard as a leader, but the only way we're really going to grow our group is first by growing ourselves and doing those scary things. So yeah. So I love this talk. This was great.
Yeah, it was. I have one thing that me and my upline leader did a couple months ago is we did like daily posts on like what we were doing. So, because the thing is, like, people don't know you're on a call right now. People don't know that you're talking to somebody about ER. People don't know that you reached out to somebody, that you're emailing people, whatever. They don't see that. So unless you're super active in your group, which I am when it comes to promotions and things that are going on and out of stock lists, just to keep people involved. But I'm not saying, hey, so today for my business, for an hour wrote a class. I was on a Zoom call today for business development, et cetera, et cetera. I sent a couple of emails. I talked to people about Essential Rewards. I taught some people, whatever. They don't know that I'm doing that. So then they can't then do even that 30%. So we did it, I want to say it was like 2 months ago, and it was a huge difference because then people were like, oh, well, today I added a new item to my Essential Rewards order, and the tiny little things, but then it started adding up to like, oh, well, I reached out to so-and-so, and oh, now I'm scheduling classes. So even just having that of like an accountability post, and even if you do it, every week or even every day to say, hey, just so you guys know, this is what I'm doing. Because yeah, from an outside perspective, if you're telling people, oh, you should be doing more live videos, you should be doing more classes, and they don't see you doing that, they're going to be like, F you, lady. You know, they're going to not see it. So that was really big. And I think it helped us also stay, you know, up on our IPAs and doing stuff, because we're like, people are waiting for this post, so they want to see what you're doing. So, you know, stop scrolling through Facebook, you know, reach out to somebody, or, you know, post a couple of, you know, things in your education group or whatever, just so they see it as well.
You know, and I think that's huge, but it also, those types of posts also give people ideas of what they're supposed to be doing. You know, it's not just so much an accountability on your part, which is really, really good, but it's also a motivation of like, oh, I never even thought to make those phone calls today. I need to put those on my list. I need to make those phone calls of X, Y, and Z, you know, the ER or whatever it is. So that is so good. I think the other thing too is I've started this too, is having a leader in your group post their why. Every now and then, maybe it's one time a week. Why are you doing this business? And you can get through, you know, the majority of your leaders that way. Why am I doing this business? But then also, because I think it helps the newest person start to realize that, you know, my why as a gold is very different than a why as a distributor. You know, I remember what I was like as a distributor, and my goal as a distributor is very different than what it is now. I think those help too. You know, but I love that accountability. Love that accountability. I am actually going to steal it from you.
It worked really well for us.
I think that's why Jill and Taylor and Frankie are also going to put in, you know, day in the life of a diamond. Like, what are they doing? Because I think people really think that they have arrived and they're good. They are busting their butts. You should see this stuff. I mean, in the morning, I am not a night owl, so I'll go to bed, it's central time, but I'll go to bed 10, 11 o'clock at night. I have 20, 30, 40 texts that I read in the morning because of all the stuff that they're talking about doing and what we're supposed to be doing the next day. And I'm like, oh gosh, guys, okay. You know, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm trying to scroll through all these messages that I've missed. I'm like, you guys are crazy. It's East Coast, you know? So anyway, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're still going at it, like all these different ideas and bombarding, and let's get this down, let's do this, and you know, so yeah, I think that's great. I think it's great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Also, be in some type of communication with your leaders, even if it is throwing out ideas for, you know, maybe it's accountability. So if it's just like, I put executive and above in a Marco Polo. And also we have a Facebook page. There's not a lot of traffic in there yet, but it's communication, because you're not always, when you have executives and above, maybe for you, maybe it's senior stars and above, it just depends on where you're at. So senior stars and above, they're going to be doing something different than the newest distributor. And they may have different questions that aren't going to be in the general group. So think about it. It's just something to be able to have that little bit of extra communication of, maybe how to meet a new person today or something like that. And maybe that's all you're doing in a business group. But if you're in a larger group and haven't started your own yet, that might be something that's helpful to you too. So you're in communication with just them. So.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest areas that I need. My people just don't respond. I could message them individually. Yeah, I can message them individually, and sometimes they just ignore me, and I'm like, dude, and sometimes I'll be like, how was your doctor's appointment today? I'm not just messaging them about the business, and they just don't look at my messages, and I'm like, am I an asshole? Or what's the deal? And I reached up and I was like, do people just not ignore you? And they're like, that's on them. That's not on you. Don't feel whatever. And one of my downline people, she's like, no one ever responds to my messages. And I was like, we were just raised better. I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell you anything. But I'm like, just keep doing it. I'm keep reaching out to people. You know what I mean? Understand that people are busy, and yeah, they'll see a message pop up and they don't find it urgent, but I'm like, just keep doing it and eventually they'll get around. And that's how my last month was. I just kept doing it, and I had 4 people who were fence sitters for years by their kid. And now they're like, okay, well, what information? I'm like, thank you.
Nice. And you're exactly right. It's one of those, you don't want to be in their face and irritating them, but at the same time, it's consistency that makes the difference. I mean, if you would have quit one text before that, they wouldn't have gotten in. They wouldn't have got started. So, yeah, I mean, I have a gal who's just getting started. God bless her. She's had 2 no-show classes already. She's brand new, doesn't even have anybody hardly underneath her. I've placed people underneath her just so that she kind of sees that she's got something going and stuff. And, and I'm like, look, I remember my first 2 months. I literally did a class a week my first 2 months, and nobody showed. Nobody for 2 months straight. The 3rd month, when I finally did my first class the 3rd month, I had 6 people at my class. And I went from about 2,000 PV, because I had been, strategically placed. So I went from about 2,000 PV to 6,000 PV in a month.
Wow.
So it's one of those that you just don't know, right? If I would have quit at week 7 instead of kept going to week 9, it would have been a whole different ballgame. I probably would not have this business right now. So it's one of those that you just have to keep motivating people and, share stories like that. Even if you have to take my story. I mean, I told her, I was like, I had no shows for 2 months straight. Keep going, keep inviting. She goes, I have a lot of people interested. It's just a matter of getting them there. Then keep going, keep talking about it, keep posting. It's going to happen. Let's set a class for the next week, kind of a thing. Let's go ahead and set this again. And so I hate that she canceled, but at the same time, she's new too. I wouldn't have canceled the class. I'd have been like, I'm showing up anyway. Let's, do this. But she's like, no, I'm going to go do this instead. So she's new. But it's one of those that, I think it's just it's that understanding that consistency in everything makes a difference, whether it's texting, posting, talking, calling, all of it. You have to be consistent and don't stop, no matter whether you get a response or not. So they're listening, they're just not responding yet. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel you on
Their
that.
success will make all the difference. If they start to see this successful and they have somebody underneath them as a reason to call you, it will make a huge difference in your texts. Does that make sense? Then they start texting you and asking you a question. You're like, what just happened? Well, they have somebody underneath them that's asking them questions, right? And so then it starts to do that reversal. So again, that motivation from downline up. Yep. Give them something to lose, give them something to work for, put something underneath them, work with the people underneath your leaders, and you won't be texting them and calling them, they'll be calling you. So, yeah. That's when I know I have a motivated leader, when they start calling me. It's kind of funny because I told a friend of mine today, I said, I can tell you the ones who are out there being creative right now rather than just managing their group. Do you know why? They have coffee dates and they call me all the time. They're asking me questions all the time. The ones who are not are the ones who are managing their groups. It's huge. Yep. A huge difference, but I'm noticing and that's a huge piece of it. So, and if they don't have a group big enough or they don't have somebody underneath them that is motivating them, then they don't have a reason to call you. Well, I don't really bother. I don't have anything to say. What am I going to tell them? You know, I kind of feel awkward. I don't want to tell them that, oh, I don't know anybody, haven't done a class. I haven't, you know, what are they going to say?
You have to put into consideration colors with that too, because like I rarely ever reach out to my upline because I'm the type of person that does the research themselves. So I don't have to ask questions. And even I have my my platinum leader will reach out to me weekly. And I always feel bad because she'll be like, do you have any questions? And I'm like, no, not really. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things that it's like, you know, I'm a know-it-all. That's just how I am. So I'm just like, well, I don't need your answer because I already have my answer. So
but a good leader, even if she reaches out and you say, no, I don't have any questions, a good leader will ask you a question to be able to help spur an answer. Maybe something you haven't thought about, maybe something along the lines of that Rachel just presented today of something that will click to you. Maybe it's a realization like today that, you know, I don't know who I really touched and who I didn't. By my own realization, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need to be enrolling more people. I need to meet more people. I've known that, but looking at my numbers the last 3 months, I figured if I need to do it, there's got to be other people that aren't doing scary things and aren't out there enrolling. And so, you know, I've enrolled 2 each month, but 2 of those have been by default. You know, Young Living gave me one. Yeah. He was over. So, you know, it's one of those that I'm like, that wasn't quite fair, but I'll take it. You know, I'll count it anyway. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like sometimes because she's trying to build her leadership skills because she was off the grid for a while, even though she still grew, you know, because she had leaders underneath her. But I feel a lot of times when she reaches out to me, she's not like looking at my organization and looking at stuff. She's just like, hey, do you need anything? And just is expecting like, you know, and most of the time it's mindset. That's why I'm like, tell me to just get off my ass and do it. Tell me whatever. And then she's like, we'll do it. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you know, little things like that. And I've noticed a huge difference, like in my downline leader, she was having a really hard time and she's shifted her mindset completely. I recommended to her, you're a badass. And she's like completely different, did feelings protocol, whatever. And even me myself, like I always, you know, I'm more spiritual than the whole like universe thing. So like I've been doing recently, like since last month, I just keep praying that God gives me people who need oils. And I get messages from people that like I've added to class and they're like, I just thought of you. I got an email today from somebody that I emailed 2 years ago. And they're like, I didn't even see you responded to my email and I'm getting back to you. Like, thank you, God. You know, like it's things like that, just putting that mindset out there, like send these people to me because, you know, you guys know it. You tell people and you know people that need oils and you're constantly like, for the love of God, you need these oils. And they are not listening. They're not ready to make that jump. They're not ready to make that decision. But I'm like, I pray that they come to a point to come to me because they're not going to listen to me unless they're ready to. And I've gotten so many people that are like, I know I've been needing to do this. It's been years. Here I am, you know, help me. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Let's do this.
Yeah. Yep. You're exactly right. I mean, it's one of those, I really believe that your mindset and your speech will change your business. It will, I mean, I've been doing the exact same thing and I've started to see that change. You know, it's really belief that, and it's speaking the positive that I choose to make my business what it is going to be rather than I want it. I'm going after it. You know, it's that positive mindset shift of it will be done, period. You know, I don't know where your guys' background with religion stuff, but God spoke the word into existence. So your speech in this world makes a difference of what you're doing and how you're doing it. Now, you can't sit there and talk and then never do anything to make it happen. You still have to be out there. I do believe that God kind of puts people in your path, but you have to be out the door to get in the pathway. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, yeah, exactly. So, keep loving on your people, keep encouraging them. If they're not responding back, keep going, keep talking to them, keep putting people underneath them. Then find the people. If you need help too, I'm more than happy to, again, look at your downlines and kind of look at it and kind of see your structure. And then identify, 1 to 2 people underneath your main leaders, and then start really working with them. If they're asking questions, if they're posting, those are the people that you're going to identify, not the people that are just, whatever, they're not. So, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, guys. Any other questions? Rachel, you did a fabulous job. Oh my goodness. Thank you for teaching us this week. Thank you.
Yeah, so much great information. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely. All right, so we'll look at our topics and see if we can get a few other people on. Otherwise, I'll teach next week, I think. Yeah, next week at this time. My sister and my mom are going to be in town, so it's going to be a little weird. I'll try to hide somewhere and just just please make sure you text me and remind me too, because my schedule will be off. So, what else? Make sure I have an alarm going on my phone too. I don't think I have anything else. Check out the colored Zoom calls with Grow. Those are awesome. The green Zoom call last week was really good. Tonight is Frankie's call, I believe. I think it's tonight. Check out, she's doing yellow. So if you're yellow or have people yellow in your business, you need to be on that phone call. So maybe she'll give you some great tips of kind of how to build with yellows. I saw a great tip the other day I think I posted it on our thread the other day about yellows and kind of helping yellows. Okay. Yeah. Good.
Post the link in our thread or on the Facebook group, because I never, you'll always say, oh, see these Zoom calls, and I see you tag your people, but I always see it so late that I never get onto it. So just yell at me or tag me in it, even if you want to.
I'll find them and I'll put them in this thread for everybody for tonight. So it's 7:00 Eastern time, I think. So just check that out. I think it's 7, but it'll be on the post. So I'll tag you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. And if you guys ever want anything other than just the Zoom calls, if you need some help looking at your downline or something like that, just holler at me. More than happy to help. Okay? All right. Thank you, guys. Great job, Rachel. I got 2 pages of notes too, so you did great. You did great. All right, guys. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye.